Hello, I'm Hickey from Interest.co.nz and welcome to an economic weather report. Today, literally, it's an economic weather report because we're going to look at the relationship between rain, or lack of rain, and inflation and economic output, GDP. Now our lake levels, our hydro lake levels, are now at 58% of the average as of Sunday, and that's down from 62% a week ago. Now what does this all mean? If you can see on the right here, we've got a chart showing electricity spot power prices, and they're up sharply. Over the last 2 months, they've virtually trebled from previous periods. Now what does this all mean for us? Now of course we don't all pay the spot power price. That is something that only a few commercial customers pay immediately. We have longer term contracts with our retailers, but it can affect those people buying on the spot market, and if it is sustained for a long period, it will go through to us. It's worth though having a look at the history of power prices. You can see in this chart, which shows residential power prices over the last 4 or 5 years, that for most of that period we've been paying inflation for our electricity power prices residentially has been rising at a rate of 4 to 10%, which is quite high, much higher than the rest of inflation. And it's been consistently at 6% in the last 2 years. Now if you look here at this chart, which shows commercial electricity inflation between 2004 and 2006, it was over 10%. But just in the last couple of years it's dropped sharply. And that's because we've seen a reversal of the subsidies that businesses were giving to residential consumers, and it's gone back the other way. So residential power prices have risen, and in some cases electricity prices for commercial businesses have actually fallen. But it's just started to zip up again now, and that's because of the rising spot price. And for some companies, for example Rio Tinto and its Tiwai Point electricity smelter, where they do buy quite a lot of power on the spot market, they've actually had to cut production 10% in recent months. And Transpower reports that other businesses are also cutting production because of these higher spot power prices. This will all combine with the effects of the drought on dairy production to reduce some of the pressures on GDP. And in fact, some people are saying we might actually see a GDP contraction in the first half of 2008. And this drought will really have an effect in 2 ways, reducing farm output and also reducing some commercial output because of these higher spot power prices. Another thing that a lack of rain does is reinforce inflation. You can see from this chart here, the blue line is what we call the non-tradeables inflation. This relates to inflation generated locally, so higher wages, higher power prices, that sort of thing. The grey line is tradeables inflation. That's the oil price, some food prices, things that are affected by prices in the rest of the world. What this shows is that once those combined, our general inflation, consumer price inflation, has been up over 3% for a large period of time. That's a worry for the Reserve Bank. So what does this all mean? Well, a lack of rain means lower GDP growth and higher inflation. So we can blame the weather, at least partly, for stagflation. I'm Hickey, and that was an economic weather report for Interest.co.nz.